Can you see?
Yeah, now we see you. Okay, we go back.
Okay.
Sorry. Excellent. Now we see it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I acknowledge that I used GPT to overcome the English language barrier. However, it is clear that the contents and sentences of the original Korean manuscript used for translation are entirely my own creation. I was unable to prepare my presentation slides. I ask for your understanding, and instead, I will directly share my read from my manuscript. Honored colleagues, good afternoon. It is a great honor to open this session and to share my educational experiences and perspectives with you. First, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Professor Shara Graham, who is chairing today's session. I also extend my deep thanks to my fellow panel presenters Kim Minbo-sun, Kang Ji-yoon, Jung Kwang-sun, and Maria Anna Jadina. Warm greetings as well as all participants joining us around the world via Zoom. I'm Lieutenant Colonel Hong Ju-young, an active officer at the Republic of Korea First Academy, where I teach Korean literature, writing, and communication. Today, I will share how the Gramscian Semitic Square has, since 2007, transformed a sleepy discussion class into a space of a self-directed speech. Chapter 2. When I first began running discussion class at the Air Force Academy, my classroom was far too quiet. Students took turns presenting and the rest said nothing. It was, in every sense, a rolling balls and rest type speech in which one speaks while the rest literally take a rest. They were highly motivated to learn, yet equally well trained in sleep readiness. In the end, one by one, they became Mia. Do you know Mia? Missing in action. I prepared and conducted my classes more diligently than anymore, but the result did not change. Why did this happen? At its root was professor-centered structure of speech. I had to abandon the old school approach. A professor tried to draw out student speech out, ends up talking even more. Even so-called flipped learning, in a situation where there is a goal that something must be learned and a right conclusion, cannot be fully student-led. As a result, most classes cannot escape the closed structure of the professor's question, the student's short answer. In this structure, the student remains not a subject but an object. So I asked myself, how can students speak passionately even if the professor does not speak? After deep reflection, I found the answer. By arranging focused discursive devices, dispositive, the professor must become the architect that operates what loose notion of a machine of discussion. The key solutions I considered were as follows. First, the topic is crucial. I realized that the Gramscian Semitic square could be applied to design topic effectively. We elect a leader and have them present problem-solving strategies and team task allocation. Empathizing cooperative problem-solving skills rather than authority or charisma. Various roles are designed and rotated so that every cadet experiences multiple speaking positions. The topics are cyclically connected, allowing cadets to realize that social issues are interrelated. After a round of criticism and rebuttal, a revised presentation stage is introduced so that arguments evolve into policy-level proposal. Finally, because report writing is essential for officers, a policy report stage is added, where cadets present to both the superior officer in a formal briefing format and have to obtain approval. To state the conclusion first, this course was very successful. Previously, students were like bullet in the revolver's cylinder, each fired once when their turn came, and then spinning in a silence. But after the Gramscian magic powder was poured in, every student came to have a role of their own. Now, those bullets competed to be fired. The result was classroom filled with classes and reconciliations, tears, even tears, and laughter. A level of engagement rarely witnessed even in civilian universities, and this happened within a military education environment. Today, my top focus is on the topic composition, stage 1, and logical contention, stage 4. However, these two stages are organically linked to the overall course. Let me first briefly introduce the entire structure. At the Air Force Academy, each class generally consists of 20 cadets, divided into 4 teams of 5 and proceed for 6 weeks. The structure is as follows. Stage 1, topic setup. Brainstorming, topic selection, reflecting the Samaitic square, team formation, leader election. Stage 2, strategy and plan by leadership. The leaders present strategies and weekly task assignment. Stage 3, main presentation. Each team presents its argument. Stage 4, circular debate. Circular contention proceeding. A to B, B to C, C to D, D to A. Stage 5, revised presentation. Revised presentation reflecting feedback and rebuttal. Stage 6, policy report. Policy making of this topic into a written document presented to both the superior officer for review and approval. Throughout all of this, the professor served only as a rule guide and does not intervene in the content itself. Chapter 4. To success or failure. The success or failure of a discussion class depends on how the topic is designed. First, students propose various issues throughout brainstorming. Then, we survey the radius of pro support and cons opposition for each. We exclude issues with overwhelmingly one-sided opinions and keep 4 issues with balanced pros and cons. Like this, for example, donation-based college admission, pro 5, con 6, total 11. Abolition of special purpose high schools in Korea, pro 12, con 8, total 20. Expansion of senior employment, pro 8, con 5, total 13. Legalization of for-profit hospitals, pro 4, con 3, total 7. Every society consists of binary opposition such as progressive versus conservative, classical versus romantic, pure versus hybrid, introverted versus extroverted, secular versus sacred. The closer number of pros and cons, the greater the social cleavage. If the total number is less than 20, it reflects that the gray zone is that much larger. A professor trained in humanities like literature can read voting patterns to infer whether each issue stands toward progressive bias or conservative bias. Support for donation-based admissions is conservative. Support for abolishing special purpose schools is progressive. Support for expanding senior employment is progressive. The support for legally for-profit hospitals, conservative. When these four topics are balanced, the discussion proceeds smoothly. If participants are ideologically skewed, the professors shift focus to maintain a near 50-50. Once the setup is complete, the professor places the four topics in a semi-square and structure each team with arrows as shown below. A team, donation-based college admission. B team, abolish special purpose high school. C team, legalize for-profit hospital. D team, expand senior employment. Stage 4, Chapter 5. By stage 4, the debate truly comes alive. At this stage, each team experiences all four logical positions of the Semitic square: S1, affirmation; S2, negation; not S1, not S1, non-affirmation; and not S2, non-negation. For example, let us consider Team A's experience. Donation-based admissions: A, S1, pro, opposition; 3, no policy, no donation-based admissions. D team, S2, con. See this graphic. Team A support the implementation of a donation-based university admission system, which we will call S1. Team D, which opposes this motion, stands on S2. Team D may directly confront Team A from the perspective of the 3-no policy. Clearly representing S2, alternatively, they may adopt a gray zone tactic such as not S1. Donation-based admissions are not the only solution. By taking a more reserved or conditionally accepting stance in order to persuade Team A. In response, Team A may defend its position from either the S1 perspective or from not S2 position, challenging Team D's categorical opposition. At the same time, Team A must refute Team B, which argue in favor of abolishing specialized high school, S1. Team A, supporting the continuation of such schools, S2, can draw a Semitic square as follows. Like this. It's a little bit complicated. As in the previous analysis, Team A may attempt to persuade Team B either by defending the S2 position, preserving specialized schools, or by taking an S1, not S1 stance, such as abolition is not the only answer. In response, Team B may either stick to the S1 position or adopt not S2 view. For example, we oppose the current system as it stands to reboot Team A's argument. Team A and D, and likewise A and B, maintain explicit opposition. However, as the debate progresses, listening to other teams' argument naturally leads them to internalize more conditional or flexible position, not as one and not as two. Eventually, all teams experience not only full basic set of S1, S2, not S1, and not S2, created by the assigned topic, but also additional semantic variation introduced by new argument, for example, the 3-no policy in Korea. In this process, the classroom becomes a living Semitic field where meanings interact dynamically.
Excuse me, Dr. Yu Yong Hong. I have to break off here because your time is out. Do you have any finishing points you'd like to make?
Yes. What is important is, yeah.
Perhaps your conclusion?
Yeah. And it calls interchange in debate participants.
Yes,
Yeah.
I need to let the next participants come in here. So did you have any closing remarks that you wanted to make?
Yes. And chapter
Your
7 conclusion.
conclusion, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to my very long story. This class structure was originally built upon the intuition of me, a humanist. However, while writing about it academically, I realized how theoretically sound that intuition has been. I hope that my experience will serve as an example of how professor can design discussion that then dominating communications, not only in military education, but also in other educational context. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we do understand your thinking of bringing in a system to discussion. Very important and very important for all teachers of all kind of ages, I think. Thank you very much. Our next speakers are Bu Zong Ming, Yi Yong Kan, and Kwa Zong Yong. And you are going to speak to us today about a qualitative systematic literature review of arts integration in STEAM education, insights from student voices. So I will start your 15 minutes now. Please take the floor.
From now? Okay. So can I share my screen with you?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Is it a full screen or is it kind of a little screen on the spot?
It's not a full screen now, no, but you can
Okay.
see it. Try again.
Okay. And oops. Wait a second, please. How about this?
Yeah, now we can see you.
Yeah, great. So hi everyone, good morning and good afternoon and good evening. And I'm living in the Eastern time zone, so it is 5 a.m. now. So it's great to meet you all over the world. So my name is Yoon Kang, and I'm the presenter of this research titled A Qualitative Meta-Synthesis on the STEAM Experience of Elementary School Students. So our co-researcher is Dr. Min and Dr. Jang from Korean National University of Education, and I am the PhD student in the Ohio State University. So today I will introduce our research, and it explores what elementary students actually experience in STEAM education. So let's look at our agenda today. So the research question, method, data analysis, and findings. So let's begin with our research question. So it started with our simple curiosity about the STEAM program, such as like what is happening there and why has STEM turned into STEAM, and is it really good for students to integrate arts into STEM? So when we looked into previous research, we found that most studies focus on outcomes such as creativity or problem solving skills, and these are usually measured from teachers or policy perspectives. So there was a gap between our interest and the studies. So we started to wonder, what about students themselves, and what is the meaning of arts integration in STEAM education? So So moreover, some students point out challenges for STEAM education, as you can see in the slide, and integrating arts in STEM. So there's a like implementation challenges and ambiguous roles of the arts within a STEAM and like a research like that. So from the gaps, our research question became, what do elementary students learn and experience through and about the arts in STEAM programs? So to answer the question, we focused on students' voices, specifically helping to understand the role of arts from students' perspectives. So let's go over to the method. To explore that, we used the qualitative metasynthesis. We adopted Nobelit and Hare's approach to analyze data across existing qualitative studies. So we followed 7 steps, 7 analytical steps. So we first defined our focus as elementary students reported learning through and about the arts in STEAM programs. And then we selected the articles by following Prisma 2020 guidelines for a systematic review. So we reviewed over 400 studies and finally selected 14 for metasynthesis. So following that process by this chart. So the next slide shows you the Prisma flowchart summarizing this process. So we used the databases like ERIC, Scopus, and Web of Science, and we removed the duplicated data and we screened and including the criteria like it has to be pre-reviewed articles and it has to be published between 2016 to 2025, and it has to relate it to the student voices, and it has to be related to the STEAM education in elementary school settings. So with that inclusion criteria, we conducted screening, and then we selected the 14 studies at the final. So go to the method slides again. So across the 14 studies, we collected 216 instances of student voices from the 14 studies. So we compared the similarities and differences between across those studies, and we examined and reinterpreted and combined the result from all 14 studies, and we produced 4 categories from that result. So to sum up, these slides shows our general overview of data analysis. So 2 researchers independently read all data and coded their central meanings and then conducted 2 rounds of clustering. So finally, the third scholar who has a degree in the educational field reviewed our coding and themes to check for validity. So through this process, we identified 4 higher order categories that describe how students experience and make meaning of the arts in STEAM programs. So that is directly related to our first initial research question. So to show you what we worked on, here is a table that summarizes our analytic process. So there is 3 steps. The first one is a first level, second level, and third, the final version of a category. So it shows the code that we generated from student voices. The first level shows those initial codes, and the second level shows how we clustered similar codes into broader themes like aesthetic awareness and general learning strategies and creative exploration through imagination and sense of self. And we found that the third level category is elaborated as creative process. We use we use this term because all four categories were connected and through the act of creation itself. So students' learning was all mediated through making and expressing. So we identified these four categories and which are our findings. So let's look through those one by one. So finding number one is aesthetic awareness. So our first finding is aesthetic awareness, and students began to recognize the presence of art in everyday life and even in professional context. So for example, I intentionally brought student voices to the findings because our research was focused on the student voices from studies. So those are the raw data from 14 studies, and I brought some examples related to the findings. So for example, one student said, before coming to this workshop, I never thought that we could make music with bananas and water. And I learned that music can be used everywhere in agriculture, engineering, recycle, feed the animals, take care of the fields, and plant a seed. So it shows that through these kinds of moments, students started to develop a kind of aesthetical lens to the world. So they start to see art not just as painting or drawing, but as something embedded in the world around them. So rather than learning about art as a subject, they were learning to perceive art as a part of how the world works. And the second finding is general learning strategies. So here, students described how the arts help them develop transferable ways of learning. That means like attitude or characteristics of learning. So like enjoyment and planning, reflection and pride and collaboration like that. So from that example, this is a heaven right now. We can make science more fun through multimedia. And teacher, you will make something, for example, a table is measured by ruler. So through these experiences, students realize that learning can be effective when it's enjoyable and collaborative. And art, in this sense, art functions as a vehicle for motivation and teamwork, not just self-expression. And our third finding is about creative exploration through imagination. So students talked about going beyond what they already knew, such as trying new ideas, new materials, and even new ways of expressing meaning. So like I was thinking about a new way to build a house using a blocks and hot glue, and we ended up doing some of that. And I have noticed that I could design new things even if I had difficulties. So it is related to like coming up with creative ideas and new ideas for students. So these examples show that students were not just following instructions, they were redesigning, experimenting, and transforming ideas. So arts encouraged them in this sense to take a risk and see things from different angles. And our last findings about sense of self, the self-recognition. So through the arts, students reflected on who they are and who they want to be. So they recognize their interest and or strength and their future professional, like the job. And they said things like, I realized that I like to speak in front of people. So my future career could have something to do with speaking to large crowds. So these students related to their experience in STEAM programs to future career. So like these, some students even connected their learning to future careers, and these experiences show that the arts supported identity formation and agency. So students learn to see themselves through their own creative process. So the last slide about our significance and limitations. So from this synthesis, what really stands out to us was arts integrity STEAM values the process of creation. So rather than just focusing on only on outcomes, and it also supports the development of creativity and communication. So the focus shifts from what students produce to how they grow through creating. So the significance of this study is showing that arts integration is not simply about adding art to for creativity's sake. It is about transforming learning into humanizing and reflective process to construct meaning for students. And limitations, and we did a meta synthesis with the secondary data. So that means like we have some loss of contextual depth for this research. So we suggest that for the future research, they could collect the direct students' voices to deeply understand how arts functions in STEAM programs in the real classroom setting. So when I heard the keynote from Dr. Kim today, that was about how it, rather than focusing on the performance of students, but it is better to pursue their learning process. So I think our research and our result of a research can be connected with that. So I was really appreciate and glad to share this with you. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Yizhong Kang. And very interesting, I think, for the audience to hear. If anyone has any questions, you're free to write them in the group chat and we can bring them up at the end. We go over to our third speaker for today in this session, and that is Professor Seo-Jeong Kim and Soo-Nim Kim, who will speak to us about a qualitative study on the changes in resource awareness and sense of community among upper elementary students through systems thinking-based fishery game. So this will be interesting. Please start your presentation.
Right, thank you. So can you see that slide? And you can hear me, right? Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Chunning Kim, a teacher at Myeongdong Elementary School in South Korea. And this presentation is collaborated with Professor Songchun Kim at Korea National University of Education. Today, I'll share how our system thinking-based fishery game helped the upper elementary students develop resource awareness and a community-minded mindset. Before starting the presentation, I would like to premise that system thinking and STEAM education share a very similar philosophy. Okay. Why this study matter? Background narration. While climate crisis and resource issues have been widely taught, instruction often stays at the event level fact without structures. Students rarely work with feedback and delays, so behavior doesn't change. Its rationale is to use a system thinking fishery game that makes those structures visible, helping learners move from linear to circular reasoning and from competition to cooperation. On the right side, you can see iceberg model. It's not just decoration, it frames the entire study. Above the water line, we can see events, but below the surface are patterns, structures, and mental models at the bottom. The teaching aim was to guide students beneath the surface to help them see how structures produce outcomes. research purpose. This study asked two questions. How do upper elementary students perceive resource depletion and conservation when they experience the fishery game? Second, how do they experience and interpret conflict, cooperation, and responsibility in a community during and after the game? The goal is to turn Hardin's The Treasury of the Commons into Ostrom's Comedy of the Commons to show that when people cooperate and self-govern, the commons can flourish instead of collapse. This study is grounded in system thinking as its theoretical framework. Here I highlight three core principles: interconnectedness, feedback, wholeness. I invited students to move from linear cause and effect, the idea that if I catch more fish, I do better, to circular reasoning, where today's catch affects tomorrow's stock, which feeds back into everyone's future options. On the left, you can see linear thinking. A is cause, B is effect, result. And on the right, you can see circular system thinking. This simple contrast became a powerful teaching anchor. During debriefs, I could ask, what feedback loops did you notice? Which structures made cooperation easier or harder? Now, I'm going to explain how to play fishery game. First one, students are divided into 6 countries. That means 6 teams, such as USA, China, Norway, Vietnam, Tuvalu, and the EU. Each country represents a fishing nation sharing one common ocean filled with fish. Second, starting resources, the ocean begins with from 25 to 50 fish. I use fish miniature made by plastic. Each round, the remaining fish double in number, but they can never exceed 50 fish in total. This represents the non-linearity of the system. There are 2 goals. First goal is that each country tries to catch as many fish as possible. Second goal is that keep fish resources sustainable for the future. Students should remember these 2 goals while playing the game. Rules. Each country secretly decides how many fish to catch per round and writes it down. Students can catch between 0 to 8 fish. If the remaining number of fish is smaller than the amount requested, they can't catch any at all. After each round, if fish reproduce, that means double, and the next round begins. The order is decided by drawing lots each round. Anyone can suggest an international meeting to discuss cooperation, but it's not mandatory. Typical flow, round 1, most teams focus on catching more fish. Therefore, the fish population collapses. That means extinction. Round 2, students realize the importance of cooperation, so they discuss limits and make agreements. Round 3 and more, they try to follow agreements and maintain sustainability. You see the 3 before you can see those 3 pictures. You see the simulation tools at left side, country placards in the middle, and a model international meeting scene for a negotiation. Those tools not only engage the students in the lesson, but also help them embody roles and practice diplomatic dialogue. Research method. I worked with 120 students in grades 4 to 6. Each class session lasted 80 minutes. The data included 120 student reflection notes, 12 student interviews, and 4 observer teacher interviews. I conducted qualitative coding, open coding, axial coding, and selective coding, looking for patterns in language, shifts in reasoning, and social dynamics. So, key finding 1, change in resource awareness. At the beginning of the game, many students focused on maximizing their own catch, as you might expect, but over time, their language and decisions began to reflect feedback and time delay too. I saw comments like, I worried the fish might disappear next year, and I decided to catch less this time. These are not just slogans, they reflect an internalized mental model. If we overharvest now, the system pushes back later. Please look at word cloud 1 from 120 reflection notes. Larger words convey more frequent themes. You will notice terms around cooperation, negotiation, sustainability, and resources. These words indicate the structural understanding. Students connected today's actions with tomorrow's constraints. Now, key finding 2, emergence of a cooperative mindset. The second finding is social. I watched classrooms move from competitive, self-centered strategies to joint decision-making. Students began to call international meetings, negotiate, and express empathy. We should keep our promise. If we take too much, others lose. On a word cloud 2, built from 12 students' interviews, you will see the narrative widen, promise, conference, extension, consider, and sharing. This lexical shift reflects a mindset shift from how do I win to how do we sustain the system so all of us can keep playing. Key finding 3, from observer-teacher interviews, several themes students learn through failure at the limits of a shared resource. The felt experience of depression generated an urgency that lectures rarely achieve. The class climate shifted from competition to cooperation as rounds progressed. A typically quiet student became fully engaged, suggesting the embodied game-based learning can widen participation. Teachers noticed the elements of moral development, students reasoning about fairness, promises, and the common good. Finally, several teachers said the fishery game functioned as a community building device. The activity was not just about fish, it was about us. Discussion. From player to part of the system, students started to see themselves not as isolated actors, but as citizens in a living system. They experienced feedback loops in both ecological and social dimensions. Fish populations responding to harvest and peers responding to norms and promises. I use the term systems citizens to describe learners who understand that the self, resources, and society are part of one interconnected system and who act with that awareness. Conclusion. To summarize, the fishery game fostered the structuring thinking. Students began to consider feedback and time delays, not just quick rewards. They learned that human actions alter ecological balance and that the system talks back. I observed growth in solidarity and cooperation, which are essential for sustainable communities. Most importantly, system thinking provided a bridge between environmental education and citizenship education. It connected science of systems with the ethics of living together. Educational implications. So what can schools do? Integrate system thinking across the curriculum. Do not confine it only to science. Social studies, ethics, mathematics, language arts, all can host system stories, stock and flow metaphors, and feedback narratives. Protect time for debrief. The learning peak arrived after the game in structured reflection. I recommend planning explicit time for students to map loops, surface delays, and name the norms that support the commons. Support teacher learning communities. Teachers need spaces to exchange protocols, compare archetypes, for example, treasury of the commons or fixes that fail, and refine facilitation moves that shift classes from competition to collaboration. Closing. I'd like to finish with this quote. Citizens have empathy, respect others, and work to make a better place for everyone. Chris Soderquist from Modern Mysteries. Whether we are teaching 9-year-olds or training others, the destination is similar. People who can perceive structures, anticipate feedback, care about others, and cooperate to sustain the commons. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to take questions about facilitation steps, coding procedures, or how to adapt this activity for different age groups and contexts. You can check my email address. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good presentation. Can I just ask, is this a game that is often used, or have you made up the game yourself? The fisheries game?
You mean I made this myself?
Yeah.
No,
No.
actually, these similar games are very open for everyone, every teachers. We can download from CLE Exchange's site, which
Okay.
is really quite famous. Uh, I mean, System Dynamic Society or K-12 System Thinking Education. Yeah.
It looked like a very good comprehensive game for the children.
Thank
Any
you.
other question from the other people in the room? No, no more questions just now. Then I think it's time that we move on to our last speaker in this oral presentation, and that is Maria Anna Jedina, and who will be speaking about fostering student-centered algorithmic thinking in interdisciplinary context. Are you with us, Maria?
Hello, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I will
we
share
can hear
my
you.
screen.
Thank you.
Maybe you can see it now. Can you see my presentation, please?
I can see, but it is
Yes.
not a full screen. Is it okay to you?
It's not a full screen.
Yeah.
It's okay for me.
Hmm?
Okay. In our research, we focused on development of algorithmic thinking in primary school pupils. We believe that introducing algorithmic thinking in early age gives students a strong foundation for future academic and professional growth. By engaging with these skills at a young age, pupils can become more confident learners and develop competencies that will benefit from throughout their education and future careers. Methods which was used in our research was action research, and we did 1 month-long intervention with 2 control groups of 15 pupils. One group worked with a BlueBot tool, and the second one worked with Robot Emil. At the end of the 1 month, we test score of algorithmic thinking by a test. And our findings and recommendations were that both robots effectively engage pupils in hands-on programming, fostering competencies while enhancing motivation and self-confidence. We recommend that teachers plan at least 1 introductory non-assist session to introduce pupils with the Robot Emil interface. And this session should focus on learning to control the application and use graphical commands, understanding symbols and interface functions, and practicing basic navigation skills like mouse clicks and file handling. Once pupils develop fluency with these basic interactions, they can fully focus on reasoning, sequencing, and debugging during subsequent lessons. And our interdisciplinary innovative outcome is education activity, which is indoor and outdoor appropriate. Required materials include long ropes and A4 sheets with printing letters from A to F and numbers from 1 to 6. The ropes are arranged on the floor to form a rectangular grid composed of equally sized squares. Letters are placed along 2 opposite sides of the rectangle and numbers along the other 2 sides. Each square contains 1 sheet with either a letter or a number. This setup creates an environment for students similar on the surface met on robot Bluebot. Students are given tasks to complete, and the aim is to fulfill certain way and claim positions according tasks. We modify tasks regularly. Tasks can be completed individually or in small groups. If the number of pupils in our class is too large, we propose 5 graded activities according to difficulty, and then we let children plan and design their own assignments so the other groups can solve it. There is some more photos. And this activity was independently designed and implemented at the end of our action research, but we consider it as an excellent introduction for the future to the concepts of algorithmic thinking. Before students start program robots, they should practice spatial orientation through their own body movement.
Excuse me, Maria, could you move forward in the presentation so we can see the other slides too?
Yes, can you see now?
We can only see the first slide.
I'm so sorry, I thought you cannot see?
Just the first one. So if you could just move forward. We can see them on the side, but they're so small. So if you could.
Maybe I can escape it and share it again.
Do it again.
Share it. I'm so sorry, I thought it was presenting. Can you see now?
Now we see, yes, thank you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. These are my methods and tools, findings and a recommendation, and this is our interdisciplinary innovative outcome. This is indoor version. This is outdoor version. And there are some more photos of it. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Tina. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to put? How old were the children you had here in this example?
They were from 9 to 11 years old.
And are they your pupils, your students, or did you go out to a school to visit? Do you teach?
Yes, I do teach during my PhD studies as well.
Okay, yeah, it looked very interesting. Thank you. Any other questions, please, or comments? No, very good. And now we have about 15 minutes until the round table discussion will start. So we're going to have a short break now of 15 minutes, and then I think you have to go back to the first Zoom link. I think, let's see if it's the same one. Yeah, it's the same Zoom link that you had for the first meeting. So if you just click on the first Zoom link again, you should find the way into the last session of today, which is going to be a roundtable discussion led by Professor Pamela Bernard from Cambridge. And in it, you will hear Christoph Enviesi and Wing-Ching Chen and Soyun Han and Carla Pinto as well from Portugal. So please take a short break and then go back into the roundtable discussion. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.